Today on For the Record.
But it all started 250 years ago.
Pittsburgh gets ready to celebrate America's 250th anniversary.
So there's just going to be all kinds of fun associated with our semi-quincentennial.
From the big events lined up to the history still being felt in our region a quarter of a millennium later.
George Washington became America's first action hero.
For the Record starts right now. Welcome to For the Record. I'm Eleanor LaQuatra.
And I'm Lily Coleman. Today, the first of two episodes focused on Pittsburgh's celebration of America's 250th anniversary.
There is so much lined up in the weeks ahead, from fun to history and, of course, fireworks.
And Eleanor, let's start things off by going to my sit-down interview with Andy Masek, President and CEO of Pittsburgh's Heinz History Center. And I'm joined now by Andy Masek with the Heinz History Center. Thank you so much for being with us. What an exciting time to be a history buff these days.
You know, it is an exciting time. I feel like we're in history-making times. And 250 years ago, when those founding fathers got together, I'm not sure that they even realized that this American experiment would last 250 years. I mean, it was touch and go there at first. And yet I think we've matured as a nation, but we don't have a perfect union yet.
Talk about the significance of that 250th anniversary. You hear that. So much has changed, so much is still changing, but it is quite a significant milestone.
The United States of America was really the first democratic republic in the world. After the United States came on board with the power vested in the people, not a king, not a potentate, and a monarch, but the people. There were dozens of other countries that followed, and now there are scores of democratic republics in the world. But it all started 250 years ago. And when you think about it, those founders, they had a lot to lose. They were going up against the most powerful nation in the world, Great Britain, with a powerful navy and land armies. And here these men got together in Philadelphia, and they formed a government. At first it was an alliance of colonies. And they weren't trying to create a country. They were just trying to tell the King of England, hey, you've gone too far, we've got rights. We're sovereign citizens of our colonies, our provinces. But then the war began, the shooting war began in 1775 at Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts, and then Bunker Hill, and then George Washington from Virginia is recruited by the New Englanders. The New Englanders know, hey, if we're going to have a chance fighting Great Britain, we need the South in on this fight. And who better than this 6'2" tall, gangly Virginian who had military experience here in Western Pennsylvania during the French and Indian War. And they said, he's the perfect guy. Let's get him, and we'll get Virginia in the fight too. So that's what started in 1776 with that Declaration of Independence.
So we'll get to some of the fun that I know you guys are all working on as this celebration continues, but George Washington's a perfect pivot point here. He does have such a significant background, so to speak, here in Western Pennsylvania. Talk a little bit about that.
You know, George Washington, I think, is misunderstood by many Americans who have bought into the wooden teeth, cherry pie and cherry tree stories, which are mostly apocryphal. They're made up by early biographers. But George was 11 years old when his father died. He was raised by his mother, Mary Ball, who was the second wife of his father, Augustine Washington. And young George Washington didn't get the benefit of a fancy education. His older half-brothers went to England to be educated in the best schools. George was self-taught after the age of 11. He taught himself mathematics and surveying. And by the time he was 16 years old, he was getting jobs surveying in the western wilds, not in Virginia, but out here in the Ohio country, as they called it. And he got jobs that grown men wouldn't take because they were too dangerous or too hard.
You know, one of the other things that I think is cool, talking about Pittsburgh and its love of history, some of this history, there are significant markers. I'm thinking specifically here with George Washington. We have a statue near Kennywood or at Kennywood. There's all of that work being done on the Montour Trail to kind of symbolize the significance that he played in this area. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, you know, George Washington thought Western Pennsylvania was very important. It was the gateway to the West. He realized that the rivers, the Monongahela and Allegheny, forming the Ohio River, whoever controlled those rivers would really control the interior of what became the United States. And so he amassed quite a bit of land here, nearly 60,000 acres of land. And so he would come out here to check on his land holdings. And I think he was one of the first boosters and believers in the forks of the Ohio. But if you go to the Fort Pitt Museum today, right at the point, there's a wonderful museum in a reconstructed bastion of Fort Pitt. And the oldest building in Pittsburgh is right next door, the Block House, which is owned and operated by the Daughters of the American Revolution, who saved it from destruction in the 1890s, that blockhouse that was built in 1764. And George Washington stood on that very ground. And if we go north, we could follow Washington's trail. He met Queen Aliquippa, the Seneca chieftainess who held sway over the forks of the Ohio. He went up to where Franklin is today, Fort Le Boeuf, and that's where he encountered the French. And he nearly drowned in the Allegheny River a few days after Christmas, 1753, about where the 40th Street Bridge is today. We call that the Washington Crossing Bridge. He and one companion, Christopher Gist, they were tramping through the snow, coming back from Fort Le Boeuf. They thought that they could walk across the ice of the frozen Allegheny River, but the Allegheny wasn't frozen. So they banged together a rude raft from driftwood that they found there. They had one hatchet, was the only tool they had between them. And they get this raft shoved out. The banks are frozen about 50 yards out on each side, but the river's flowing strongly in the center. Big ice flows coming down from the north. They get to midstream, and George sees a big ice flow bearing down on their rickety little raft. He plants his setting pole on the downstream side of the raft, hoping to retard their progress so the ice flow will go by. But the force of the current rams into his pole vaults him off the raft into the icy waters of the Allegheny. Well, fortunately for us, our hero's a strong swimmer. He gets back on the raft. They've lost their poles. They're freezing. They ram into an island at about 40th Street, where that bridge is today. They spend a freezing night on the island. And it was so cold that night that when the sun came up the next day, the river was frozen solid. And the men scampered across to Shanapinstown, the Delaware Indian village, at the Rite Aid at 40th Street and Butler. That's where the Delaware Indian village was. And there they got dry clothes and horses, and he made his way back to Virginia, where his journal was printed by the governor of Virginia, Robert Dinwiddie, because it read like an action novel. And George Washington became America's first action hero.
Still ahead on For the Record.
There's just going to be all kinds of fun associated with our semi-quincentennial.
More on how Pittsburgh will be celebrating America's big birthday. Welcome back to For the Record as we gear up to celebrate America's 250th birthday right here in Pittsburgh.
Let's go back now to my interview with Heinz History Center CEO Andy Masick, who's breaking down what to expect as the 4th of July approaches. Let's talk a little bit more about this 250th anniversary. Lots of celebrations happening. How are you all at the Heinz History Center getting in on some of that fun?
We're having lots of fun. On June 25th, we're going to have a revolutionary celebration. It's $10 for 21 plus. There are going to be scavenger hunts, a trivia throwdown, an American history trivia throwdown, but there'll be vintage, by decade, vintage clothing and other things for sale. There will be Cherry Bounce, George Washington's favorite cocktail, will be available. So there's just going to be all kinds of fun associated with our semi-quincentennial. I know that you're a Latin scholar, so semi-quincentennial is 250 in Latin.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you were filling me in there. Thank you for helping to,
Oh, yeah.
to ease those gaps. There's a 4th at the Fort celebration, too. What can you tell us about that?
On the 4th of July, our elected officials and people from the community will all converge at the point at the Block House, Pittsburgh's oldest house. And there's a 100-foot flagpole there, and they're going to pull down the British red ensign. That was the British battle flag 250 years ago. And they'll run up the stars and stripes in its place. It'll be a 36-foot garrison flag. Think about that, 36 feet by 20 feet. The government designed this flag so you could see it for 5 miles.
Wow.
And so we'll run up that flag. There'll be reenactors. We have a Revolutionary War cannon, which will be fired. And we've got a partnership with Fort Ligonier. Fort Ligonier is a great museum if you haven't been there. And they've got a wonderful Revolutionary War artillery collection. So mortars and field guns and howitzers will all be clustered around the Block House on the 4th of July. So I encourage people to come and see that and the new exhibit that has just opened at the Fort Pitt Museum on Revolutionary Pittsburgh.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, a lot of people think, well, the battles all took place in the East, Saratoga and Yorktown, but here on the frontier, there was fighting too, with American Indian tribes allied with the British or with the Americans. The very first treaty with the tribes was signed at Fort Pitt. So you're going to learn about some of the personalities, men, women, European, Native American, who were part of the revolution in the West. And I think people might be surprised by what they learn.
That is very cool. I wouldn't have thought of that myself. What comes after 250? It's for you guys, but then, you know, for us as a country as a whole, what do you think?
Well, those are both good questions. For the Heinz History Center, we just announced our groundbreaking for a new wing. The History Center will be a whole city block in scale. 92,000 square foot addition. We'll add an auditorium, a new cafe, classrooms for kids. And I don't know if you know this, but kids are free at the History Center always. 17 and under can come to the History Center for free, because we don't want there to be any obstacle to young people and families learning about their history and becoming good citizens. And speaking of citizens, we do citizenship naturalization ceremonies at the History Center, where people take the oath of allegiance to the United States, and these people come from all over the world and are Americans by choice. We have the privilege of having been born here, but there are many people who yearn for the freedoms and the opportunities that the United States of America offers. And so it's really heartwarming to see these folks, often in native dress, take the oath of allegiance with their families there. As for America, I think we're still working through some of the challenges that were recognized 250 years ago by the founders. They recognized that not all states are the same, their priorities aren't the same. Slavery was part of that founding generation, and we fought a civil war to put an end to that pernicious practice. But some of the after effects of those struggles are still with us today, and we're trying to work through that. But I think our democracy is so well thought out that there are mechanisms to change the laws, to reinforce the laws, checks and balances between the legislative branch and the executive branch and the judicial branch. Sometimes we think, hey, that's not working as well as I'd like it to, but it's the best system in the world.
Still ahead, a sneak preview of next week's part 2 of our For the Record series on America's 250th from one of our experts at the Fort Pitt Museum.
Welcome back to For the Record. We want to let you know that our discussion about the Pittsburgh celebration surrounding America's 250th anniversary does not stop with today's show.
That's for sure. Next Sunday morning, I sit down with Michael Burke, who's the assistant director of the Fort Pitt Museum, for more on Pittsburgh's role in the birth of America.
You see these like clues all over the place, you know, Gist Street, you know, and Washington, you know, Boulevard and Bouquet Street, and all these like these names, and you're kind of like, what do they all mean? How do they all connect? I think the key to it is, you know, looking back to the 1740s and 50s. This area is an area of interest for the British Empire, the French Empire, and also numerous native nations who've kind of moved into this land. And so they're all their interests overlap at what we call the Forks of the Ohio, where Pittsburgh is today. And so it's into this world that the colony of Virginia gets interested, and some land speculators and wealthy, you know, planters and things like that. They formed this company called the Ohio Company to try to settle the land. And it's as part of that George Washington comes out here as a young surveyor in 1753. His mission is to evict the French, who have established themselves north on the Allegheny River at Fort LeBoeuf, and they're building a string of forts down closer to the Forks of the Ohio. Washington's mission is to go and give them their eviction notice.
See more of that interview next Sunday morning at 11 o'clock right here on For the Record.
And keep it right here, because ahead in just 2 minutes, we've got this week's Final Word.
Welcome back to For the Record. Before we go, we do want to bring you this week's final word.
It is a piece of Pittsburgh-specific history shared with me by Andy Masick, President and CEO of the Heinz History Center. And it all starts with a young man who would one day become our nation's first president, George Washington.
And when he was 21 years old, think about this, a red-haired, 6 feet, 2.5 inch tall, gangly Virginia youth. He comes to the forks of the Ohio. That's what they called the confluence of the rivers here then. And he confronts the French and says, you can't build any forts here. This is British territory. The French throw down the gauntlet and say, if you want this, come and take it. And George comes back with an army. He's captured, but somehow manages to get out of that predicament at Fort Necessity in 1754. And then he comes back again with General Braddock in 1755. And it's a terrible defeat on the banks of the Monongahela in July of 1755. But George comes back again, and this time with General Forbes in 1758. And General Forbes, the Scotsman, and George Washington find the smoldering ruins of Fort Duquesne at the Point in Pittsburgh. And George says, what are we going to call this place now that we've got it? And Forbes, who is from Edinburgh, Scotland, says, well, why don't we call it Pittsburgh? We'll call it Pittsburgh. And that's why Pittsburgh has an H on it to this very day. It's a Scottish borough, not a German burg.
That's fascinating. I didn't really know the origin behind the H. That's fascinating.
You know, Pittsburghers are very protective of their history and traditions. And in 1890, the U.S. Postal Service and the Geographic Names Board conspired to standardize all the burgs in America. They thought it'd be easier for the postal carriers if they could get rid of that H at the end. You don't really pronounce it anyway. So they took away Pittsburgh's H and forced everyone to spell Pittsburgh with just a G. Well, Pittsburghers were incensed. So they went to Congress, and it took them 20 years to do it, but they got a congressional decree to restore Pittsburgh's H. So 1890 to 1911, Pittsburgh didn't have an H, but in 1911, the H was restored.
And I believe we celebrate that day, one of the many days we celebrate here in Pittsburgh.
H Day, what's not to love about that?
Definitely such a cool piece of Pittsburgh history right there.
And our look at Pittsburgh's role in the birth of America continues next Sunday morning. I sit down with the assistant director of the Fort Pitt Museum to bring you even more about how America's history will be celebrated right here in Pittsburgh. Don't forget, that's next Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. Until then, from Lily and I, thanks for watching.
Have a great week.